This boat is another step. I don't know how you did it.
It's an actual functionality. This is completely unique. That's where the magic happens.
I disagree a little bit.
I couldn't have said it better.
The sofa is my thing.
Yes.
Amazing place.
The all-new Axopar 38, the biggest investment the company has ever done and the most functional all-weather boat in the world. Patrick, what's your take on it?
After 11 years being with you, every year being in Düsseldorf is another amazing milestone you're bringing here, and the 38 is, I would say, the biggest one or the most impressive one we ever had.
Yeah, with the thousands of boats we've already produced, now this really clearly defines what an all-weather adventure boat can be and how we actually diffuse the complete barrier between having a full inside commuter boat and full outside sociable boat at the same time.
And for the social part, this is more my part. We use this boat all over the world. We have been seeing being used this boat all over the world. We see it in the Mediterranean as well. We see it in Scandinavia. We see it in the US as well as in Asia. Everybody understands, because of you and Axopar, the company, how a cabin boat can make boating so much more fun and so much more nice for everybody, like the social part and the secure part on the boat.
Exactly. So in seconds you enclose it, it's an all-capable, all-weather boat. In seconds you open it up and it's the full social platform all in one turn.
But you did this already since 11 years now, so how can you think you can make it better?
Well, it takes practice and it actually also takes some mistakes. So learn from your mistakes, make better every day, improve every single day. That's how you end up with it. But I'm so proud of the 38 and I'm so proud to be able to showcase this to people here in Düsseldorf because nobody has ever seen a boat quite like this ever.
So before you were talking about a revolution, I think your team, which has grown over all the success over the last 11 years so massively, that you now have a possibility of an evolution because you have so many people inside of your team to create such a product which would have not been possible 5 years ago.
Exactly as you said, and also in terms of knowledge. We didn't have this knowledge. You need to do this. You need to make thousands of boats a year in order to understand what goes into this genre. And this is also where it's very important for other manufacturers out there. We only do adventure boats and we are the best in adventure boats. Everybody else that is trying to fiddle around, make sailboats, day boats, catamarans, whatever, they will never understand what adventure boating is. For them it's a trial. But for us, this is our job, this is our profession, this is our passion.
I'm telling this story very often, I tell it now public. You were the one who invented the name. You called me at one point about 8-9 years ago, asked me about that name. So I can truly say to everybody out there, Janne is the one who in fact decided to take this word into the marine environment.
And
that's because he's living it, because the company is living it. And many others trying to be part of this, but there's only one real adventure company.
Yes.
That's for 100% sure.
So the biggest queue you see on the 38 is the activity platform. And to us, the activity platform is something different. You don't need to take it. So this is a full option, but you can have it with a fixed hull side as well. But with the activity platform, you can do the biggest and most modular setup in the aft than on any boat ever before. Now I'm on the lounge chair. On the opposite side, I have the wet bar. We have big fender boxes and we have a myriad of aft deck options that can completely transform your own boating so that you don't need to do the compromise. You buy the boat that is best suited for your own use.
The walkway here, as we know it from any Axopar, so we have a very, very wide sidewalk where I can walk like straight forward. I have the handrail now integrated in the side deck, so it looks much more cleaner from the outside. I'm still very safe to hold on. The middle cleat very well positioned, and for sure, what is the most important, a side door as we always have on the cross cabin, but even now more defined in design, in structure, in gel, like in glass fiber design, if you have not seen that before on a boat like this. What an amazing look this boat has.
Yeah, it's completely changed the appearance of the Axopar. The silhouette of the Axopar is still there, but it's completely revised and now it's like it's been hitting the gym a few times.
What I really like, it looks like a little bit more masculine, like loads of style, but because of this is, I think, a little bit higher, and then you have not the railing anymore, such a strong masculine look, but still smooth.
Exactly. So we raised the height of the sidewalks. The whole boat is bigger. It has more space all around, and that you can immediately see in the looks of the boat by itself. But it's also the number one thing is that you can't see, which is more or less underneath. So the whole hull is completely revised and rethought from the beginning to create actually one of the best handling boats and one of the most fuel efficient hulls in the industry at this moment.
I can also see that the steps look from the side a little bit different as well. So the step as well has also been redesigned, I guess.
Yes, it's been redesigned, and we actually are now drawing a bit more air, and we're balancing it with the weight and the length and the beam of the boat. And of course, we're using the most complicated and the highest technology available to calculate the hydrodynamics today. And that is one part, but it's not the only part that creates the drivability of the boat. It's of course that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours test data of the boats, how they handle, and together with that we can actually start comparing against the CAD data and the CFD data, which is very interesting to see when you start to have the computer data and the real life data matching together. That's where the magic happens, and that's where we can start doing the fine tuning. That creates also that sense of thrill of driving on an Axopar.
And this is what I said just before, is you're always saying that, and I believe you because we have been working so long together, but then really get the sensation being at sea that more or less what you have been designing with your team and aiming for is becoming reality. I'm very thankful for that, and I'm very proud to be a part of that, because this is very, very, very unique, because I cannot see that from coming the last 30 years with my family into boating business, the development of the boats in behavior at sea has, beside you, not increased that much. So there has been loads of design being done upside, like from the outside design,
and interior-wise,
but nobody has ever put the energy like Axopar below here.
No, because it's for many customers that is completely irrelevant. For many customers that is the number one thing, and that is where Axopar excels. So if you have a customer that really wants a driver's boat, it's the Axopar, because we actually do the number one focus is on the hull and the drivability itself. Secondary, but only after we secure the best hull to our own knowledge and skill levels, that's the moment when we start seeing what we can fill inside of the boat. And that is such a huge difference from many other competitors out there, which just do volume, 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 and actually have no care of how the boat is handling the fuel economy or the fuel it's taking. And to us, that's a bit of a shame, actually.
So what is it about? Because I think these hangovers also somehow increased, the shines, sorry, as well here in the front, to see that here. This is also increased quite heavily, and there's even a second, like this. This piece is even new from the design point of view.
Yeah, so we increased the size of the chimes. Together with, we changed the attitude of the boat when we're taking it up to planing speed, and especially when we are driving the boat in very bad conditions. We're talking about 3 meter waves and you need to drive 15 knots. That's also where the added width and weight of the chine, which actually then helps disperse water more and keep the bow out and keep the boat dry.
And even here, this piece is also, this area is also has more.
Everything you see on the hull has a function. It's not a design feature, it's an actual functionality to make the boat handle and drive better.
Talk a little bit about how steep you are here in the front when it comes to the hull design.
Well, an Axopar is always, of course, recognized by the very sharp entry bow. And this is what makes it a wave-piercing hull. Together with the lightweight of the hull and the buoyancy and the flare, this is actually more closely related to a rigid inflatable boat and all those rescue boats out there that are really made for tough operations in any conditions out at sea. So in that sense, when it comes to safety and comfort on board, we rather go with a rigid inflatable construction than any of the more conventional hulls out there.
What you can see here, I think what you started with the Axopar 29 already, is the extremely aggressive way of taking the maximum out of glass fiber possibilities when it comes to molds and designing the molds into a certain design. Especially there where the door starts, it's integrated into the roof. The door itself on the 29 already, these edges here in the back with the window, or when we go to the power dome, which is now here covered, but all these areas have a maximum of glass fiber stretching it in the possibility and gel coat.
In terms of form, in terms of technology, how you can make draft angles that work on molds that are repeatedly used over and over time, this is something that we today master. We've been pushing the limits of how you can make shapes and forms that creates the whole attention of the boat, but still for us to be also very friendly in production. But this is the benefit for the customers, that we can do extreme shapes on the boat that really marks the appearance of the boat, but at the same time it also makes the functionality on board. So we can stretch shapes in a way broader way that was imaginable before. We'll start with the door.
Yeah, look at this when it's closed or open.
Yeah,
It's like,
so for me, the one thing that when I looked at conventional boats out there, especially cabin boats, is that always when you had a door, you distinctively saw where the door was, because A, the door was different color than the whole boat itself. It was an ugly square-shaped, just like add-on part, and that is something that we really wanted to change. On the 29, we did the blade design. On this one, we made our own Axopar 38 design on it as well.
this we just been talking
Yes,
about. So
arch
starting
roofs.
at the door, giving it even a little bit more room, walking here, and then this, that was an A, B, C frame here.
Yes.
Which is like a little bit like a forward edge targa. Some American boats had it a very long time ago, like a targa to the front.
Internally, we call that the roll cage.
Very nice. Very cool.
So it's something that we wanted to break up the silhouette of a very long wheelhouse that has a lot of glass. One thing to really understand, the more glass you put on a boat, the more heat it's going to attract. I really hate all the boats out there that have glass doors and glass walls from the ceiling to the floor, because that's going to be a nightmare inside. That's going to be a greenhouse inside, and you're going to need heavy air conditioning. And if you don't have air conditioning, if you cannot open up the doors, it's going to be really uncomfortable inside. Also, secondly, to remind you, it's also going to be a lot of noise inside, because the echo of a glass is absolutely horrible. That's why we also want to break it up with glass fiber. So we keep the temperatures down, we keep the looks of the boat there, and also when you move around with stuff on the boat, anchors, anything, you never want to hit glass surfaces. So more or less, while you will never see glass surface 1 meter from the walkway upwards, because that's where you're always going to handle stuff.
Still, the glass surfaces are used there, where it gives a very nice experience.
Exactly,
inside,
where they
especially
matter.
in the corners, where it gives a different view,
Yes.
room view, like a more 3D view.
And when we talk about details, there is so much detail in this boat that you need to go on it on several occasions and just have a new look. But just look at the aft window. It's curved, and it's also got a very nice, attractive silhouette. And we do the silk print so that they actually accentuate the look of the boat. Also the vector graph, the adventure patterning that we have on there as well, all nice small details.
What I really like, which you do already a long time, is like hidden ventilation with these panels here and on the other side. So you need ventilation. You need ventilation in the technical rooms. You need really important to ventilate the boat, because it's an enclosed boat. And these are not, just placed somewhere.
No, they are made with a
in
purpose.
the start of the design. They all need to reach this side here or the same area on the port side. We've been talking about the activity platform before, but let's do something from the outside, how they look.
So we're talking about the activity platforms. That is an option that we now do on the 38, but you can also have it with a fixed hull sides for those that don't need to have anything opening up. We also extended the rub rail to a dual rub rail for the last, let's say, like 2 meter section on the aft of the boat.
And this rubber list is, as always, going all the way around
yes, so
to the platform.
It's wrapping the swim platform so that if you leave the dock, if you have a tide and you hit something, you're going to hit a good rub rail. But immediately you step on board, you also see the attention of detail just by starting from the anti-skid.
What I really like, this new material you're choosing here is very environmental friendly, because it's of rebuilt cork material in this.
Yes.
And what makes it so good is we're using the strengths and the special development of the nature itself, but the cork as a natural product in it is giving it the more isolation and is less hot because of that.
Yes.
And this is like very good example where nature is smarter than we as a human being, we're normally doing something. This is just put into this material.
Yes, so less hot, more durable, nicer looking.
Very nice.
Following the details on the aft cabin, we also have a 3D printed Axopar logotype in the bottom. It's all about the details.
We have cross ventilation, so I'm like you on your side,
Yes.
with optional mosquito net for
nets.
sure.
So on the 38, it's all about confident design and functionality. So wide walk-around decks, easy to move around, but also new options that we've never had on the boat before. One is the optionable aft window that completely opens up the boat, and especially now with the aft cabin, this is actually a pretty nice setting. So you can sit inside and I can sit outside, and we're really enjoying a day out at sea.
And I think that brings us even more customers deciding for the cross cabin version, as we have the side doors to open since ever, the big window, the big roof to open, but additionally wise, here the back window, which, as you say, there's communication also during driving. There's a much more communication in between the aft deck and the driver area in the inside.
Yeah, and this boat now has the U sofa configuration with an electric high-low table. So this table you can also lower down to make into a day bed. So more or less the same way I'm lounging in here, you can also be lounging in the wheelhouse itself.
So this, everybody who knows Axopar knows the aft cabin.
Yes.
So the aft cabin has there from the first day.
Yes.
I would say it's also something Axopar brought into the boating industry, putting a cabin on a sportive boat in the back.
Yes.
And this gives us a huge area to sleep in, very safe, very low from the positioning, so very little movement, very little noise. The best place to sleep on the boat is the aft.
Yeah, and the multifunctionality of the aft cabin. So not all are just buying it for overnighting. So now you can easily sleep 4 or even 5 persons on board with the aft cabin. But it's also because we now made it very multifunctional with a loading hatch. So whatever I bring with me, bags, whatever, I can just easily throw inside the boat, close the hatch and go.
So like a multi-storage,
Yes,
just with the cabin option.
but multifunctional now. So on an Axopar, we always talk about having 4 social spaces: the aft, the wheelhouse, the front cabin and the bow. All of these are now completely different and modularized so that you can select the right options and the functionality that you want on your own boat for your own preference. On this boat now we have the aft cabin. This we can also have with a wet bar, with an aft-facing sofa. We can also in the future have a sofa facing forward and a multi-storage area, and actually also a very nice dinette with a high-low table that also converts into a daybed. Those new options that I mentioned, those will come in September when we launch also the cross top. Patrick is going to set up the daybed for you so that you get an idea of how big the wheelhouse on the 38 has become today. And with the new optional sofa, it completely transforms that. So Patrick, you have like 2.5 meters of space inside here. And this was something, you know, staying at an anchor in Cannes and just being inside here, you get some shelter from the wind, you get some shelter from the sun, but you're still out in the elements.
Amazing place. Just to have the feeling, to have the side doors open, the roof open, the back open, but especially as you just said, what you do in a Mediterranean setup, you just close the roof even to get a sunshade, but you're still completely open to three sides. The wind will blow through. Amazing. And this is really also for kids and amazing. They anyway want to go into the shade, so the grown-ups being outside, kids playing inside here, amazing place. And going into the cave, for example, in the aft cabin. Janne, what are you doing there? You're jumping through the window. You're climbing through the window.
Fast access.
Yeah.
I think the kids would love this feature. So.
Yeah, but that's a good way if it works. You know, it's a nice possibility, another entrance into the boat. So we have the Gullwing doors on the front, we have the side doors, and even now a back door and the hatch of the aft cabin.
And for a fully enclosable all-weather boat, we have 3 sunbeds in the boat, 1 inside, 2 outside. What other boat has that? No one. This is completely unique.
Very amazing, very well done from the team. That's my favorite setup. You know, being at the helm and then having Janne for sure, better family sitting here in the back, just going out, they're having a good time because they don't have this driving feeling sitting at the seat. The boat's anyway driving better than probably any other boat on the market. So they're very safe, they're comfortable, and I can head at the very amazing helm wherever I would like to be that day.
But we also reimagined the U-sofa setup in the wheelhouse completely. So that for me now, I can easily be sitting 3 persons leaning on the table with the backrest looking forward while I have a wide sofa for additional 2-3 persons. But in a second, I can actually just switch the direction, and now I'm in a really comfortable dining session in here. So the multifunctionality and the usability of this area is now completely transformed from any other boat I've seen there.
Absolutely amazing. I think this brings again the cross cabin into another segment of people who have ever considered of buying an enclosed boat, because it has so many possibilities of opening and making it even in a more, because a cabin boat always has a little disadvantage of the communication block.
Yes.
And this communication block with the big side doors, with the big opening back window, and the Gullwing where we even not have been talking about, and the hatch on the back, is just unique and gives you all the options you have normally on the open boat, but with all the safe aspects of an enclosed boat.
So still remember, we're in a 50 knot plus boat. So this is a fast commuter that can take you anywhere in 40 knots cruising speeds. And to just be able to sit this comfortably and actually not even feel disconnected from the elements, this is something unique, and this was one of the major driving points for us in the development to make this happen.
So a used sofa has many advantages, but also some disadvantages. And in this boat, we can more or less utilize it in two ways. So on one side, I'm using this area now to put my legs during driving to be sitting more comfortably. You can then now, if we are more people, just have a sit here.
Okay.
So now being more people, just having a glass of wine, we can accommodate even more people than on any other boat of this size. And then we can also just flip it down, and then during a dinner, having a little bit more space just for leg room and being, more comfortable to really eat.
Yes, or especially if you have a lot of people, you're driving and you want to be facing forward with your feet on the floor.
So I can go more.
Now you are extending the sofa. So yeah, it's way more functional than you see. There's a handhold for you when we're driving forward, but I also made it with a swivel, so that when you need access into the aft cabin, you clear up way more space, and now the handhold actually helps you into the aft cabin itself.
Very cool.
But sitting like this, we can also actually length adjust the table, so that to any preference, do you want it to be closer to me or closer to you? That's also the freedom of movement.
And for sure, when you are sitting facing forward, you're going to move it more to me to have definitely more space.
Yes. So if I'm a big guy, I want the table to be moved backwards, and if I'm short, I want the table to be moved forward.
And especially when you flip it here, I have by far enough space to sit here in the back.
USB chargers, A and C chargers all around the boat. Plug it in, leave it on the tray, done.
As well here below me, here on the starboard side, so I can put a laptop on the table, USB charge, or even a 230. 230 is down here.
Yes.
So I can bring up the cable here.
So we have a storage underneath here, but instead of only using it for storage, we actually also incorporate it as a neck rest.
So even a better place on the aft deck now with this backrest. Your shoes and my shoes are just flying around here, so I have a good place to put them. This is, I think, really cool. So we just had a laugh. We have a German part into this boat now, which is storage. Germans love storage. So what do we have? We have a small cupboard here on the side, storage here on this side, but then very much extra now, what the Germans love, a trash can. So be really organized on board. What we all know is the fridge below here. We have another big storage here below, and another big storage here below the table, and the storage here in the back, what we've seen before on the Axopar 29. So really every open area has been utilized to create storage. We're going to see that also in the front cabin, which I really like, because that makes the staying on board just more comfortable for the family and for anybody joining the ride.
Way improved, easier access into the aft cabin. Lift up the seat, hook it in place, lift the footrest up, and now you have full access inside.
And that's not the only way in the aft cabin, because I could just jump in here and join you.
So more space in the aft cabin, more comfortable, but still I think this is the secondary sleeping area where you have your kids and your parents stay in the front.
No, I don't have a different opinion. I always would sleep in the back because it's so cozy, no movement, less noisy. I love it sleeping in the aft cabin.
That's actually a good point, because when you're at anchor, all the waves will always hit the hull first. In the rear, it's going to be the most quietest, the most calmest.
And I really like sleeping this way, like looking like having my foot towards the entrance. So aft cabin is for me the best place to sleep. And this is unique because Axopar is one of the only manufacturers having even this possibility to have an aft cabin on a 38-footer.
More storage solutions on board. Put anything underneath the bed. There is underneath the sofa another space. There's shelves around. There is also another shelf on the side. Quite a lot of, and there's also actually going to come more solutions on the walls as well.
But what you should always remember, this whole room is a storage.
Yes,
because
exactly.
you can, as an owner, decide at any point you're not going to overnight on the boat.
Yes.
take these mattresses out, we have the anti-skip below here. Yes. The area is drained, and we will also show on the other boat here what is all the technical installation which is below here. But in fact, the whole room with this hatch here is a storage.
Yes, the multifunctionality of an Axopar now very clearly identifiable and seen. Now we have a separate option where you can actually have one sofa. It still has the very functional flip-up bolsters, so when you want to be seated and driving, it's still front and back adjustable easily. And also now, of course, the number one thing is that easy, flippable, really like. And now you can be seated facing backwards as well.
But what I also really like with the sofa, it just can lean like this, so you can rest.
Yes.
Yeah, you can have like a resting position.
And this is one of the number ones for me, that even just at rest, I can just use this as a bit of a lounge chair.
And even the long cruise, you're not going to sit like this as a steering wheel as you need to be with a car. You can really relax here and find your position which is suitable for you for a long cruise.
Yes. We integrated steps on both sides of the boat, so it's easy and fast access in and out. And also if you equip it with night light, you have a night light in here as well.
And the night light we as well have here at the helm,
yes,
which gives you, like in the car, like an indirect, like it will only be lighted up down here because it's like a spot giving this area, and it will not open your pupils, so it will not have any effect on your driving.
No, you have a very calm ambient lighting. You have it on the roof in the front and in the back, and then also on the steps.
So driving at night, what I for sure always do, I go into the plotter and go into night mode, and also parallel put the brightness down, because this is also super important during the night, because otherwise it's very difficult to navigate because it's also bright. So you put loads of thinking as well into the switching of the different lights and the dimming. Just give me a small hint. What did you do?
With a good amount of feedback from our customers, we actually also rethought the panel lights. So the panel lights are now under its own control, and we can actually even dim the text on the panel lights itself. But for nighttime driving, just push it off and the dash is completely dark. In addition, all the lights inside of the boat is now also dimmable.
And what I really like, I know normally it was not your approach, they are warm.
Yes.
That's really something, you know, that's how I like it, not to be that cold. And what I can do, I can even control them from here in the cabin area. So I don't need to go to the helm. I can control them from the helm, but additional also here from the inside at the side.
Wireless charger as standard. That you can also lock in place when the weather gets rough.
Cool, very cool.
To me, the drivability is always what signifies an Axopar. And my honest belief is that this is one of the absolute best handling boats in the world today. We've done so much changes in the hydrodynamics and the shape, how we construct the boat, so that this really feels solid. It's way nicer to drive in bad conditions today. It feels confident and it feels purposefully built in even the bad conditions.
You told me that because you have driven the boat a little bit more than me when we headed in December to Finland.
Yep.
And I felt this little bit being like Janne is like pushed in by the project, but it's the truth. So I haven't been so many hundreds of hours with Axopars on sea, at the rivers, wherever. And this boat is another step. I don't know how you did it, how your team accomplished this mission. How can you even do it better? But again, I'm always saying, if there's a 10, Axopar is a 12, it's the normal limit, and this is a 15 now. So it's a complete other level again. So you're setting
the benchmark.
The benchmark on a new level. And this is absolutely impressive, because on the other hand, what we just shown, we have storage, we have just more living on board, but not sacrificing any of the drivability. We're even increasing the drivability.
Exactly.
So this is very impressive.
More silent, more stable, more solid. Everything is just vastly improved. So what excites me on the 38 is the helm and the dashboard. We've always wanted to have this sort of an automotive sensation and clear up and declutter everything that you have in here. But on the 38, this even feels more like you're now on a car than on a boat. And the visibility from the helm, the viewpoints, everything, easy access. Actually, you can access now from that sofa all the way out from the boat as well. So I don't even need to give you space in there. So everything around the wheelhouse is today completely reimagined.
When you told me in Finland in December that the helm is going to be green, I was a little bit, how is that going to look? It looks absolutely stunning. So you are feeling, or the team of you feeling, to just make things new, just not do it as before? I'm very impressed. So we have like a, what is it? A dark green combined with a black
metallic flake.
Metallic flake. It looks stunning, and it looks very light through that. If it would be all black, then it would be very
dark.
Dark and big somehow. This looks very lighted up. Amazing helm.
And especially my favorite is the sofa now. So in standard you have the 2 seats that you can also rotate. But to me, really, if you want to go with a family comfort, you can have a kid, your wife, so 3 persons driving in here. This completely reimagines everything.
This sofa is my thing, huh?
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Boating changes and boating behavior changes. When we launched the 37, there were not really that many people that stayed long-term time on board the boat. But now as time evolves and people's behavior change, now we also see then that people actually stay longer times overboard. So the 38 is an absolute answer for those that wanted the 37 but couldn't feel the livability and comfort on board. But now everything you've seen so far, and now then let's dig down into the front cabin, where we actually have a kitchen module, and we also now have improved and completely reimagined the enclosed toilet as well.
So Janne, I disagree a little bit. So in my world, people always stayed on board. I always stayed on board. I think what you managed to do was, instead of the first 37, you were really focusing, as you do today, on drivability, less volume in the front. Yeah. And what your team succeeded nowadays is to keep that drivability, even exponentially increase it in the performance, but still somehow create room, and the space then lets you to implement like livability, which I think everybody always likes somehow on the boat. But what the people need to understand, normally it's in a very hard competition towards the performance and the drivability.
Yes.
And somehow you made some...
Yes, we played some Axopar magic on that, just to make it happen. But that is exactly as you say. So many boats are compromised from the drivability and handling and comfort at sea because they really try to squeeze everything there is needed inside of a boat. With us, we do completely uncompromised, focused on the drivability and handling. And then when we learn now, 10, 11 years in, now we really get an understanding how much we can actually squeeze that knowledge and how we can squeeze this space inside of the new 38. But let's step inside of the front cabin. So Patrick, welcome inside. Use the Gullwing doors.
The Gullwing door, something which you introduced in 2019, 2020.
Yes.
Everybody said it didn't work in the car, how should it work on the boat?
Yeah.
How many, you probably build nowadays more Gullwing doors than any car manufacturer before. So the Gullwing door is now like one of the genes of an Axopar.
Yep.
And it works so well.
It works so well, and it's as we're just sitting inside, you can already feel the breeze coming inside. So the front cabin before was a very secluded, uncomfortable area where you went to hide. But this is actually a lounging area today. And this is also just to tell you how we reimagine the things so that we are now, we're blending 2 things. So overnight capability and lounging as well. So the backrest actually flips down and then you create this into a full-size bed.
What is very new, I think, for an Axopar is really to have a kitchen and an enclosed toilet together inside of the front car.
And with this space use still, so even this lounging area is still huge on this boat. Still bear in mind, we're one of the best handling and drivable boats, so that we really have a sharp bow on the boat that really cuts into the waves. So Patrick, another feature that we did is with the toilet door, we actually made it into an enclosed privacy door, and with the privacy curtain at the same time, now you can actually seclude the front cabin completely from the toilet area if somebody wants to go from the cabin or from the aft cabin inside and use the toilet.
Or it makes also the toilet being a little bit bigger.
Exactly.
You don't need to close the door if you're preparing yourself, so you have more or less the whole area when the other hatch is closed as a toilet room area.
Exactly. Another nice feature is the integrated mirror in the toilet door.
You being again an absolute forerunner when it comes to design, implementing a Gullwing door on a boat, but you have now put it on a different level. What I really like is that we have now 2 gas struts, and the gas struts are really now hidden optical wise. So for sure when it's open you see them. So closing it then from the inside, they're fully hidden. Closing it himself, I have a hidden handle here as well to really have the Gullwing door always under control.
So now you can't actually see any gas struts inside. Nice, clean installation.
Janne, for those of you who think there's not enough space in the kitchen, I think you could even just store some stuff here. So if you prepare
this is
food,
secondary station.
it's like a plate.
Yes.
Like
So
and then easy even from somebody outside to just grab and bring to the foredeck.
Yes, true. So it's very multifunctional, and for me, this actually works pretty well as well. If I sit with a laptop, I can actually use this also as well.
Just like being outside, but still being not exposed to somebody else around.
Yes, exactly. And the whole point with the Gullwing doors, let's just see how the multifunctionality is. So getting the access, you just flip the cushions, you drop the stairs, and that's it.
Same for sure on the starboard side.
Yeah.
Even extra space you have here behind.
Exactly. There is a huge space underneath here that we created outside, so you can, if even a duffel bags move in here, so you can fit 2 duffel bags on this side and 2 duffel bags on this side. So all the clutter is taken away.
A big storage here on the top, so we can even
space for a microwave.
Yes, we have a second fridge, which was always a discussion in Axopar. So we have a fridge down here and the fridge we shown before in the salon. We have really like full outgoing.
Full length
drawers for really like proper storage, and another hatch, just a small one below here. Then we have a sink, proper one, some storage area maybe for a coffee machine, and then we have here like neither a gas or an electric hob. So like a proper kitchen. And what is nice to see, as this hatch is open, I can, with 176, I can proper stand here, so I can really easy maneuver down here. Even this is an area which normally has like a absolute height here from 170, but it's very comfortable to use, and I can also easily serve up the table in the salon. So it's just 2 steps, very good to walk, as they do this let's say asymmetric design. So a very good connection of the kitchen towards the salon.
And let's have a look at the shower and toilet. So the fully enclosed toilet is an option. You can also have then this space as the standard L sofa that extends the lounge if you want to as the standard.
Very impressive how big this toilet area is, and also very cozy with the new wood design. Very well done.
Thanks. Fast access for Helm electronics. Convenient, fast, easy. This is just for the everyday, and then we actually have additional opening up of the big service panel.
So something nobody really needs, but it has to be accessible, are the
fuses. So we integrated the fuses all under one convenient location. They're easily accessible on any of the models.
Very cool.
Let's go have a look at the bow.
But is there any, there's big changes.
Yes, there are very big changes in the bow. So of course we also improved the Gullwing doors, the molding, the fitting, the quality, the detail, everything has been improved. But this is the area that I'm super excited about.
Just want to close them, just to get a feeling how that looks for sure. How big sunbed we have on top, but how good they also work.
This is your favorite. You want to have the cushions on top of the Gullwing doors. That is more my space, so I like that front area as well. So under the cushions, and it actually even hurts me a bit to hide it, we made some extensive work on the moldings and the GRPs just to create some power and refinement into the design and look of the boat. But we're going to have a look at it after a while.
How do you call them?
I call it the power dome.
It looks amazing. When you see the glass fiber work being done there, it's quite stunning.
So the attention to detail is vast on the 38, and that also then brings everything into the upgraded and improved functionality on board.
So when I see here, I think it's a proven design from the Axopar 29.
Yes.
But it's not the only design setup I can have here on the front.
No, because we wanted people to have the option and possibility to select different modules also on the bow area. So the forward-facing sofa, that is standard on the 38 always, and the small locker you have in front of the anchor locker, that's something you have standard. But these 2 U-sofa elements you have on the side, these are options. And on the other 38, we actually can make this then also into a sunbed. This one, of course, is also movable in 2 different positions. So we can easily move the table for your location, like this. So now you create more space to move around in here, and now you have the table move forward. But also the table goes from high to low, which means also that you can make that area into a full-size sunbed as well.
What I like the most is placing it back where you just had it, then lower it, because then you have a combination about both. You have a U sofa when the table is up, but you still have a forward-facing sunbed as we know it from the other boats or with the other option when you have a storage below.
Let's do that.
So that's done in 10 seconds, but what I like on an Axopar is all these details. For example, that there's a dedicated place to store these table foods. So they're not flying around, they're proper stored inside, you know where they are. So this is the functionality you expect from a Scandinavian boat. This I really like. You have the support on the side, what I've always been talking about. So when you sit here in the front, you're very safe. You can hold yourself and you're forward facing, and you still can pass here when you want to go into the front of board or board.
And you can still access all the under storage lockers as well. So you don't need to fiddle around with cushions or anything. And as you, Patrick, saw, we actually integrated the railing now so that we have a sleek design on the boat as well.
I think roof racks we have on the Axopars more or less since the first day, especially on the cabin boats. But you have brought it to a different level now with a new way of, not new way of fixing, but a common way of fixing, but probably nobody has used that in the boating industry so far.
Yeah, no, so we actually made a universal groove on the roof rack so that now you can fit the most of the global brands with their own quick fixings onto the roof racks.
Very nice. So Janne, what I really like is, because when you want to fix it from there, it's also important to fix it here on the inside. And it's so good to have here the possibility to go onto the bench or on this bench, because that makes it very easy even to support you now getting this flight board off the boat from here, from the inside.
Yeah, and that's one of the major things with the canvas roof as well. We want a huge opening inside. This also helps you with that.
On an Axopar cross cabin, since the beginning more or less, solar panels for trickle charging the auxiliary batteries.
Foldable mast as standard, and as you see, we completely redesigned the design of the mast itself. Quick access, quick fold down for easy bridge clearance.
Being lying here in the bay on the back sunbed, what is very close by and is also an option is the wet bar on the port side. So we have a big fridge in here, very nice, and also a small sink, and also a small trash can. And then Janne just brought the grill. So we have a full wet bar, if chosen, here on the port side instead of the fender storage or instead of the seating, which we show on the other 38 here on the show. Something I really like or love being in the aft cabin is the big window on the back. So yes, I'm just seeing engines, but you look at these two V10s, what amazing 2 units. And you just have a look in this and looking also at the sea, plus you have extra 2 ventilation possibilities on each side.
Yeah, for the port lights. And actually, as you see, we also increased the space in front of the engine so that you are easier now moving around the boat as well.
Yeah, that's really nice. And also this small edge here, so I can feel that I'm not in any correspondence with the engines.
Yeah, it feels safe to move around.
Very much. And for sure, the water ski arch, which is not really a water ski arch, is also a security railing here in the back. So even somebody who's not considering going water skiing, it's a good option to choose.
Exactly. Let's have a look at the other boat. This will probably be the most comprehensive walkthrough we've ever done.
So looking down here, we're having like very compact Axopar stylish, very modern battery and energy compartments.
We wanted to incorporate all the electronics into one designated area on the boat. So all the heavy duty equipment is now under 3 separate hatches, but in one location.
What I really like is that you took the comfort a little bit more another level, as we have now an inverter, which is a Combi Master, which is a combination of a charger and inverter as standard. The only thing you set as a customer is how many capacity you want. There's a standard capacity with AGM batteries, or optional, you just choose the lithium pack to have more live on board 230 capacity for air condition or whatever you want to use.
Yes, and when it comes down to complexity, we actually resolved it in a way that the added power bank doesn't take up any more space on board the boat. Everything is still done in this area.
And there's a very new unit here from inside of the Brunswick group. It's from BEP, which integrates even a crossover if it once ever would be needed. It's all down here. So Axopar is always about variations, options. So how many options can we variate on these boats now?
So
because it's crazy numbers.
It's hundreds and hundreds. If we take colors, we're talking about thousands and thousands of options. But the whole point is here, we make the harder work to make this work for us in production so that the customer doesn't need to make a compromise when they buy the boat. So they can buy the boat especially that suits their use the best.
But is a boat not always a compromise? Just as a customer, you have
We
to find the
really-
best compromise for yourself.
Absolutely, and that is where we really try to take that compromise away. So with the modularity of an Axopar, you don't have to do as big of compromises as you do on other boats.
So a good example here, where we've been lying on the aft cabin. We
Yes.
have now,
This is now the open aft deck with a wet bar. So this is one of the options that we have in addition if you just want to have an open aft deck space for any sort of on-water activities. This one is also now with the fishing rod holders and additional handholds on the roof as well. And this boat actually also now has the sun pad in front with storage.
and we have a fixed back
This
window.
is with the fixed back window,
And
exactly.
where I just showed before the wet bar, we have here a seating and a
Yes.
storage below.
Yes, and this completely changes how you stay on the water. So for me, driving forward with the balconies up, this is a new vantage point for me to just be here, or at anchor, just to be here and sitting
Fully
around.
agree. I was doing that with the prototype being in Cannes. I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes, and what an amazing place because you have the wind facing in your face, but you're still very much back in the boat,
Yes.
so you don't need to think about waves coming.
No.
You're much more relaxed in sitting, but
Exactly.
not being packed away behind this cabin, which you sometimes want, but
Exactly.
sometimes when it's very hot, you want to be facing
Yes.
forward into the
Yes,
wind.
yes, exactly.
Amazing place.
Exactly.
Sitting over there,
Yep.
it's like feels a little bit like it would be my girlfriend. It would be feeling a little bit being divorced, yeah? With this big space in between. But anyway, we're
Yes.
sitting both forward facing. You're feeling very safe because you have it now down. You would not be
Yes.
driving, but I'm feeling very safe with the sideboard here. Very
Yep.
cool place. to
Yep,
sit.
yep, for sure. And of course, then being on the water, the same idea is that this also becomes your backrest, your lounging area as well when
You
you're
can
on the
sit
water.
together,
Exactly like
communicate,
this.
and there's a
Yes,
place at the water, which is not just being on the floor.
no, exactly. So this one is now with the standard upholstery and the standard 2 rotating seats as well.
So single seating
Yes,
has some advantages and some disadvantages. You can rotate them, other ones
Yep.
you flip.
yep.
You have
But
a
the
little bit
sofa
more.
is my favorite today.
Me as well. Even you, I think, with Axopar again, established the single seating as a design element in boats in the last 10 years.
Yep.
So it's your right
Yep.
to go a different step now.
Yeah, trying new things. Standard layout on all Axopar 38s when you don't take the optional enclosed toilet is this very spacious lounge sofa setting. Underneath the seat you will also have a toilet. Storage solution as an option if you don't want to have the kitchen module. Still a small sink as well with the same option. So converting this into a bed is pretty fast. Drop down the backrest, ready to go to sleep. The mere attention to detail on the moldings is something that we put extensive work on. Just look at the power dome we did here on the Gullwing doors.
Amazing. It looks, I don't know how many
Automotive.
directions you have in here.
Yes. So I wanted to create a definite look, a confident look on the 38. And this completely changes and reimagines how you can do glass fiber shapes and glass on a modern boat.
Amazing. Very powerful. Still very neutral. Like it's dominant
confident,
and confident. Yes.
Yes.
So different layout of the sunbed in front. We said before we're having for sure this as a standard here, and then optional we have
The sun lounge
a sun lounge.
with the storage underneath. And this is more or less for those that want to have easier access and easier move around ability on the boat. And for those that then of course wants to have this sort of an extended sun lounge. And to me this is, I think probably this is like a 50-50. People love this setup as well.
This is like it was before as we know it.
Yes.
This is also what people are used to have.
Yes,
So this is more confidence in choosing something they know.
Yes.
The other one is more
that's completely new. Nobody has ever done that sort of a setup or seating or modularity on the bow area on any other boat ever. We were the first.
Some work is involved
Oh yes.
to change it into different setups.
Yep.
Here this is always
It fixed.
working.
Yes.
Jana, it was amazing to just do this with you about all the amazing features the 38 has. But what I just want you to point out, which I think is you are the best one and the only one who knows that all, is what the people cannot see. Because everything what we just been talking about, an experienced boater, an Axoparian, somebody who knows the product, will understand more or less coming here on the boat show after a while deeping himself into that boat. But there's many things he will not see, and things which are in my world even minimum the same importance or even more important, because other boat brands are not putting any effort into this, and it has such a high impact into the daily use of a boat.
One of the most extensive work we've done on the 38 is today the sound insulation and the extensive engineering that goes into the stringer systems and create one of the most silent boats in this sort of genre as well. And to me, that is all about confidence as well, and comfort on board, so that everybody feels confident even though the weathers change.
And this I can underline, being able or having had this privilege to see that boat already in the building's phase. I could see from the first second on, it's an Axopar, because no other brand I've ever seen has such a robust and highly oversized, engineered and produced stringer system.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the also genes of an Axopar, which you've been heading from the first day on.
Yes.
And this now combined with more effort into sound isolation. So being strong doesn't need to be feeling strong.
No.
So the feeling comes very much also with the sound.
Yes.
And you've been always very good in this, but you just accelerated this with
Yeah, this takes adventure boating into a completely new level. And the one thing still also to really understand is that a good boat needs to take you comfortably in any weather. So you go out on a Friday and you need to come back on a Sunday and the weather's changed, or you go out in the morning and in the afternoon the winds change. So that sort of reputability and trustworthiness that you put into a boat, that it can safely take you whatever the conditions, that is extremely important for us at Axopar.
And what I'm also always saying to my customers is the body is influenced by many Ds. It's not 3D, just what you see.
No.
So it's what you feel,
Yes.
wind on your skin, wets on your skin, what you hear, for sure what you see, your balance. So there's so many Ds
Yes.
impacting your feeling, your family's feeling, your friends' feeling of feeling comfortable or not. And I think what you succeeded with the cross cabin and now increasing the sound isolation to have the low center of gravity, that makes all these Ds to be reduced on impact on the person, the maximum it can be, which then results a more comfort feeling on board, happier family, happier friends, more people to join, longer cruises to do, better time on the water.
Yes, exactly.
And this is, I think, what in the end also adventure stands for. It's not only being on your own with a fire somewhere on an island.
No.
It's to be able to go there with the ones you love,
Yes.
in a way that they feel good, comfortable, cozy, warm, loved.
Yes.
And the boat helps you, the Axopar helps you to achieve that. And that makes the time on the water with an Axopar, I think, better than with any other boat on the market.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Thank you for that.